Hey everyone, I haven't posted on this channel in a really long time, just because of what's been going on the last year or so. But I really wanted to film this video, and it's way overdue now. As you can tell by the title of this video, it's going to be a birth story video for my daughter Irie, and she's now 6 months old. So like I said, this has been a really long time coming, and I just haven't really gotten around to it. But I thought I would just get it out there now. The reason I really wanted to share this story is mostly because of how important birth stories were to me during my pregnancy. So throughout my pregnancy, I read, listened to, and watched probably like over 100 birth stories, just to know what I was getting into, and to learn more about natural birth, which is what I wanted to do. Learn more about home birth, which is what I ended up doing. And I just found it super helpful to listen to other women talk about their positive stories and hear their positive outcomes for a natural home birth. And so hopefully I can do the same for someone else watching who's maybe ready to give birth, or is pregnant or thinking about getting pregnant, and who's interested in natural delivery. Another reason why I wanted to make this video is just for Irie, so that she can watch this someday and just hear about the amazing story about how she came into this world, and just so I have it as a memory as well. So a little bit of a backstory on my pregnancy. I had an amazing pregnancy. I felt really good almost the entire time, apart from the first maybe from like week 5, 6 to about week 9, like that first trimester. I didn't feel so great, but that was just a little bit of nausea and nothing crazy. Apart from that, really positive pregnancy. My body felt good. I didn't have any issues. I was definitely considered a low risk pregnancy. Immediately after finding out I was pregnant, there was really no question about it. I knew that I wanted to try for a natural, low to no intervention delivery and labor. I just didn't think of it any other way. It was important for me to allow the birth to happen without any sort of unnecessary medical intervention or medication, which may sort of hinder the natural process of labor and delivery. Most of my pregnancy and my labor and delivery took place in England. So I was outside of my home country. So this was definitely something to think about as well, because Canada does things a certain way, and even though this was my first experience, I still knew sort of the gist of what it was like to receive care in Canada versus what it was like to receive care in the UK. So after doing some research, I realized that while they're similar, there are also quite a few differences as well. So in Canada, if you want to deliver with a midwife, which is what I wanted to do, you go out and you find yourself a midwife, and you choose someone that you resonate with, someone you feel comfortable with, and it's sort of a private thing. They would have their own practice while still being covered under healthcare. Whereas in the UK, if you are a low risk, healthy woman, then you are automatically assigned a midwife to do all of your prenatal visits, and then you have a few choices. You can deliver in a hospital. You can deliver in what's called a midwife-led unit, which is sort of their version of like a birth center, which they don't really have birthing centers in the UK. Or you can deliver at home for extenuating circumstances, or more complicated births than an obstetrician would deliver you. So anyway, for me, initially I thought yes, I would like to deliver with a midwife, and I'll go with the midwife-led unit. So the midwife-led unit, there's little intervention. It's more of like a homey atmosphere, I guess, but it's connected to the hospital. It's its own separate wing of the hospital. So in Sheffield, England, where I was living at the time, the midwife-led unit just was like not speaking to me at all. It seemed still very medicalized, and it just had this very clinical feel about it. And I had seen pictures of the birth center in Toronto, which is what I'm comparing everything to, I guess, and it just looked so nice, and felt like you were at home, and it was like really nicely decorated, and the midwife-led unit in Sheffield was just not like that at all. So up until I was about maybe 6 months pregnant, I think the plan was still to give birth at the midwife-led unit, and this whole time I was just doubting it, and in my mind I was like, oh, I really want to have a home birth. Like, oh, I just wasn't like vocalizing it, wasn't really saying it out loud to my partner or to anyone really. But in my head I was just thinking, oh, I want to have a home birth. The reason I think I was hesitant was because we were living in a place that didn't really feel like home. We had none of our own furniture. It was just like somewhere that we were plopped down, and you know, here's your house basically. Yeah, but like I said, around the 6-month mark, I was just like, it became very apparent that, you know, I really need to give home birth some more thought. So I went to a support group, a home birth support group, and yeah, they just talked about their experiences with home birth, and I voiced a few of my concerns. And then after that, I came home and I spoke to Jordan, my partner, about it, and I was just telling him how important it was to me, and you know, was he on board? Could he get on board? And after a little bit of convincing, he agreed, and yeah, we were both excited. I just felt like this huge relief. Yeah, so that was the plan. I should also mention that we had hired a doula. So I wasn't sure about having a doula. It's not something that I 100% had to have. But considering I was, you know, first time mom delivering in a foreign country, where I was a little bit unsure about the whole process, I thought, yeah, why not have, you know, someone who's more familiar with the whole process, have them there and support me, and also to help support Jordan, because, you know, he's never done this before either. So I think just the having someone else there for both of us really put my mind at ease. My doula, Chris, she was actually more experienced with home births than she was with hospital births. So she had attended more home births than not. So that also made me feel really good, and yeah, just to have someone there who could help me at home as well. So as I mentioned briefly before, in preparation for birth, I had taken upon myself to read so many books and listen to podcasts, watch YouTube videos, and just really immerse myself in all things natural birth. And I just found this so helpful, really empowering to inform myself and educate myself, and really understand what was going to be happening with my body, and yeah, just kind of take things into my own hands, rather than leaving them up to someone else, like the midwife or the doctor or whatever the case may have been. So yeah, that was really helpful to me, and I would encourage everyone who is expecting to do your research and just, you know what's going to happen or what could happen. And one of my favorite books that I read was Ina May's Guide to Natural Childbirth. Hands down, like the best resource I found. The first part of the book, the first probably half of the book, is just reading birth stories from women that she had delivered their babies, And then the second part was more just about pregnancy and the process of labor and delivery and postpartum and all that stuff. So in addition to mentally preparing, I was also super active throughout my pregnancy. I continued with my yoga practice through the entire thing, and I truly believe that helped my body stay open and just pain-free, flexible, and just fit and ready to endure what is a marathon. I also can't forget diet and just living a healthy lifestyle. So throughout my pregnancy, of course, I remained on a plant-based vegan diet, and I really believe that that also helped me feel really good throughout my pregnancy, and then my recovery as well was really good after birth. So yeah, eating well and taking care of yourself, make sure you're getting enough calories for you and your baby, super important. And yeah, I found it really helpful for me during pregnancy. So yeah, I was mentally prepared. Physically, I felt good. I had a great support system. I felt really good about my choices that I had made up to that point, about where I was going to give birth and how I was going to give birth. So now I'll get into the birth story itself. So in the week or so leading up to delivery, or my due date, I guess I had started to feel like very, very minor contractions. Like, I wouldn't even call them contractions. They were just like a twinge, like in my lower belly, and they would happen at night, and they would last for like a minute or so, and then they would go away, and then they'd come back, and they were very inconsistent, very sporadic, and ultimately they went away. So that happened maybe twice during the week prior to when I actually went into labor. Yeah, and the whole time you're thinking like, is this it, or like, are they gonna progress? And then they just go away. So I kind of knew that something was coming, but also that it was going to be a while. But I don't know, it was like you don't, it was almost like I couldn't even feel them, but I knew something was happening. So after those couple days of it feeling like, okay, maybe something's happening, I thought, oh, why not, help things move along if something is gonna happen. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna go for like extra long walks. I'm gonna do like more hip openers in my yoga practice, like really, really focus on hip opening, lots of squats, holding squats, that kind of stuff. And then also I was gonna do some strong brew red raspberry leaf tea. I had been drinking red raspberry leaf tea my whole third trimester, and I thought, okay, let's like ramp it up a bit, drink more, make it stronger, see what happens. Red raspberry leaf tea is supposed to tone your uterus, make contractions more effective, which in turn makes your labor shorter, hopefully, and just like progresses things a little bit faster. And then in my mind, mentally, I basically was just like, okay, I'm ready for you, baby girl. Like, everything's ready. We're ready for you to come when you are ready, and I'm here. The day I went into labor, it was a Friday. Of course, I woke up like any other day, not knowing that I was gonna go into labor. But it was the day before my due date, and I thought, okay, yeah, I mean, it could happen at any time. But I was just kind of going about my day as normal. I had done my yoga, I had gone for a really long walk, and then I wanted to get out and do a few errands. So I just wanted to go to the grocery store and make sure we had some like food in the house, and I wanted to get like some kombuchas to like do like a cheers after. Funny enough, Jordan ended up drinking both of the kombuchas during my labor, so we didn't get to cheers, but that was fine. And yeah, I ended up also stopping at this little bakery that I wanted to try. I had a piece of cake, I had a tea. I was just like, just enjoying my day. And I was also really close to this baby store that I had gotten a gift certificate for. I thought, okay, I'm just gonna go look and see what they have, and they were having this really, really big sale. And this was towards the end of January, of course, and I asked the girl, oh, like when is the sale on until? And she said, oh, it's on until the end of the month. And I said, okay, like I'll be back with my gift certificate, unless of course I go into labor before that. So funny enough, I ended up having Irie the very next day. But yeah, so throughout the day I had been feeling some contractions while I was out on my errands, and I was too busy to like worry about how frequently they were coming or how long they were lasting. But I knew that they were starting to feel like a little bit different, maybe like slightly more intense, but still nothing, like no pain or nothing like that. So after being out all day, it was around 5 o'clock, I had gotten home and I thought, okay, I'm just gonna like get in some comfy clothes, sit on the couch and just relax and be still for a while and see if you know, I can start to notice a pattern, or if they pick up, or just see if anything progresses. And they did. So at this point I decided to start timing my contractions. So I used a little app on my phone, and yeah, they were about like 8 to 10 minutes apart, and they were 8 to 10 minutes apart, like staying. And this was the first time I had any sort of consistency, so I was like getting really excited. And yeah, Jordan was super excited too, but again, still super relaxed. We were just like hanging out at home, watching TV. I was like bouncing on the yoga ball, which I had been doing for like a month or so, in the evenings, just when we were hanging out, just to like move around and, you know, get things going. So throughout the evening, they became a little bit more intense. I could feel them more, and they were getting slightly closer together.
Did it feel like?
It just feels like intense pressure, like starting really low down, and then like it kind of wraps around from the middle of my back to lower back. You can feel it starting, and then it like climbs, and then it peaks, and then it goes down. It's very weird. So it was around 10 p.m. and by that point we thought, okay, let's go into bed and like try and get some sleep, you know, just in case this is the real deal and this could be happening soon, we might as well get rested. So yeah, we were in bed. Jordan was like gonna fall asleep, and I had planned to fall asleep as well, but I just couldn't. So I got up, and I just lit a candle in the bedroom just to have like a little bit of light. And I remember just like kneeling beside the bed and just kind of leaning over the bed. And yeah, they were starting to get more intense. Like I was definitely feeling them more, and I was having to like just kind of focus on the contraction. I couldn't really like do much else, and my breathing became more apparent. Like it was more important to me to focus on my breathing. And then I stood up and I did like a few little hip circles, and by this point Jordan could tell that I was like a little bit restless and clearly not sleeping. So he said, why don't you go in the bath and just see if you can relax in there. So I thought, oh, good idea. So I went in the bath, and after about like maybe less than 10 minutes of me being in the bath, I was like, okay, this is getting like kind of intense now. I don't really want to be alone in here. So I called out for Jordan, and he came in. And then at this point we were like, oh, do we call the doula? Do we call Chris? And just like, you know, let her know what's happening and see if maybe she wants to come over. And by this point I had like texted her like throughout the week, and like maybe even that day, just telling her like, oh, I think things are happening. She's like, okay, yeah, just keep me posted. So anyway, we decided to call her. After some deliberation on the phone, she's like, it's totally up to you. Do you want me to come? And in my gut, I just felt like, yeah, I think you should come. So she got there by about midnight. When Chris arrived, I was still in the bathtub, so I had been there for quite some time. And she just sat on the floor with me, and the room was pitch black. I had the lights out the whole time. Not pitch black, but the lights were out, the door was open. And yeah, she was just sitting in there with me, and She was just pretty quiet, but she was just like, her presence was so calming, and it's almost like she knew that I wanted quiet. And yeah, at this point, my contractions were about 3 minutes apart, so things up to this point had progressed like quite quickly, and I was having to breathe through them. They were becoming more and more painful. Yeah, things were happening. And she wasn't there for very long, and she said, oh, like, I don't think it's too early to call the midwife. Like, things seem to be progressing quickly enough to where she should probably be here now. So Jordan called the midwife. They want to speak to me because they want to, they want to hear in your voice like how far along you are, kind of, to make sure that it's worth it that they come. So when she was ready to speak to me, I was actually going through a contraction. So she heard me going through a contraction in the background. Then I spoke to her, and yeah, so they came. I didn't mention this before, but yeah, in the UK, you don't have a set midwife. It's whoever is on call at that time comes. So I, again, had no idea who the midwife was going to be. There was a small chance that it would have been the midwife that I had seen for my prenatal visit, but even with my prenatal visits, I had a few different midwives. So yeah, it was going to be a surprise as to who would show up. The midwife arrived around 2 o'clock in the morning. I was still in the bath, and yeah, she was in there with me for a bit, and yeah, she was an older lady, which was fine. At first she's a complete stranger, so just trying to like feel her out, I guess. But I was also like in my own zone, going through contractions. They were coming really close together now. Yeah, so anyway, she wanted to check me, so I had to get out of the bath, and she checked to see how dilated I was. And she checked me, and she said I was 3 centimeters dilated, and I don't know, I thought I would have been more, just like based on how things were going and how I felt. But again, like, first time, I have no idea. So we had a birthing pool already picked up and ready to go for the birth. And yeah, I wanted a birthing pool just to have to help me relax and just be in water, and whether Irie was going to be born in the tub or not, I didn't really have a preference either way. Whatever was going to happen was going to happen. But the midwives don't want you to get into the birthing tub until you're at least 4 centimeters dilated, because sometimes it can slow down the labor and not allow you to progress and dilate any further. So I was only 3 centimeters. So she said, yeah, like, wait a bit. But Jordan went ahead and started getting everything set up. Actually, I think he was already getting it set up, but anyway, he started to maybe like fill the tub and whatever. And at this point, I was just trying to get comfortable. So I was in the living room, on the floor, I was on the couch. I had even gone into the bedroom to lay on the bed for a bit. I was on my side, I was on my back. I was standing. I remember one specific contraction I was standing for, and it was like super intense and like really painful. And I thought, oh, like, I don't want to do that for the next contraction. But then I thought, oh, but if it's really intense, maybe that's good. Maybe I should stand and get things moving faster. So it's all a guessing game, and whatever you can do to like cope, I think is the best option. Time is sort of a blur, but after some time, she checked me again. I think I was about 5 centimeters dilated. So yeah, things were moving along. It was good, but that also meant that I could get in the pool now. So once I got in the pool, oh, it just like felt so nice. It was really relaxing and just warm, and yeah, I like baths anyway, so being in a big bathtub in a sense was really great. Being in the pool definitely did not slow down my labor. Things just kept going, kept progressing. It felt like I was having like contraction upon contraction. Sometimes I wouldn't get a break in between, and the tightening and the like pressure, the downward pressure was just like so intense. And yeah, I was really having to breathe. I was like making sounds that I didn't think I would make. It was kind of crazy. And then I found myself pushing, and And the midwife noticed this, that I was like pushing, and ideally you want to wait until you're 10 centimeters to start pushing. And the last time she had checked me, I was 5, but some time had passed, and so she thought, oh, maybe, you know, if you feel like pushing, push. So I did, and I was like pushing pretty much with every contraction. And then I thought, oh, I asked her to check me. I wanted her to check me again because I felt like I was like pushing for a long time, didn't know if anything was happening. So she checked me again. I was like 9 centimeters. So she's like, yeah, you can continue to push if you have the urge. So I did, and I just kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and felt like I wasn't getting anywhere. Oh, and I forgot to mention, up until this point, so my water hasn't broken, nothing like that. So I'm pushing without my water breaking, which I guess is normal. Like your water can break while you're pushing, or the baby can even be born in the amniotic sac. After some time, I was like in and out of the pool so much just to like get comfortable and see if that helped and this and that. So I was actually on the ground at this point, and I remember I was just pushing, and now I could feel like, okay, there's so much pressure. She must be getting down lower. And they kept reminding me, like my midwife and Chris, my doula, were saying like, it's okay that it's taking a little bit longer. Like it just means that it's giving your body a chance to open and stretch, and it's okay. You don't have to rush it. And you know, at this point I was just like, oh, I just want the baby to come out. Like it had seemed like forever. By this point I was like exhausted. I just felt so tired, so drained. I couldn't really eat or drink anything throughout labor. I couldn't. I was vomiting. I was getting sick a lot, so I didn't want to put anything in. And I was just like spent. I was so tired, but I knew I just obviously had to keep going. And by this point, another midwife had come, so there's to be 2 midwives there by the time that the baby arrives. So there's 1 midwife for you and then 1 midwife for your baby. So at this point there was 2 midwives. The second midwife that came, she was a little bit younger. I don't know, I just resonated with her a little bit more. Her voice was like really calming to me. She actually gave me a few like tips and pointers while I was pushing, which really helped. It came to the point where I was crowning, and you could see Irie's head, but in front of her head was like the amniotic sac, or the water bag. So it was like Jordan said he saw it. It was like a bubble almost, and then her head right behind. So at that point she could have been born like in the sac, but it was making it harder for her to come out a little bit. And the midwives had made a suggestion, or had said something about possibly breaking my water. And then I kind of consulted with my doula. Obviously it's like really fast-paced consultation, like, oh, should I do this, should I not? She's like, well, you've done everything yourself up until this point, and I think you can do it on your own, but it's up to you. And I said, yeah, okay, I'm gonna do it on my own. So then I think it was maybe like 1 or 2 more contractions where I pushed and her head came out, and then her body just like fell out, which was like crazy. By this point I was kneeling, bent over a chair, and I just like looked down and she was there, and then the plan was for me to scoop her up, put her on my chest, but I was just, my arms felt like jello, and so I immediately said like, someone please help me. And so they helped me like scoop her up onto my chest, and yeah, it was like the most amazing experience, like just feeling her and like seeing her for the first time, seeing what she looked like. She had like so much like dark black hair, and like her body was just like the most beautiful like pinky color, and yeah, she was just so gorgeous. And I remember just thinking like how beautiful she was. And Jordan was like just in front of me, And I remember just like looking at him, and we locked eyes, and he started crying, and I said like, oh, it's you and me, it's her. And yeah, that was like such a special, amazing moment. And yeah, they put towels on her and like just got her all cozy on my chest. And then I was just like in awe, just looking at her. And then yeah, immediately tried to see if she wanted to nurse. And so everything was still attached to her umbilical cord. I wanted it to be intact until it stopped pulsing, so a few minutes. And then the midwife cut the cord. Jordan took Irie, and then I delivered the placenta, which was relatively easy. Yeah, and then I got dressed, and we hung out on the couch, and Irie was just like on my chest. We had like some skin to skin forever, which was amazing. And yeah, that was it. So she was born at 10 in the morning. I would say like full-on labor started at like 10 at night. So it's about like a 12-hour, which isn't really that bad for a first-time mom apparently, but it felt like a really long time. Had a really uncomplicated delivery. I didn't have any like tearing, so I didn't need any stitches or anything. Yeah, bleeding was like fine. Irie was all good. So yeah, like I said, she was born at 10, and the midwives left at 12. And Chris, my doula, she left around the same time. And yeah, we just spent the rest of the day just like being together in like this bubble of love and excitement. And yeah, it was amazing. So for anyone watching who is considering a home birth and you're just a little bit unsure, I would give it some more thought, because it's actually not as crazy as everyone might think it is. I know I got so many like kind of questions, and like a lot of people were curious, and then to other people they were just like, oh yeah, home birth. So yeah, do your research, do what feels best for you. So maybe a hospital you feel safer and more at ease. For me, that sounded like a nightmare. So yeah, it's very much a personal preference, and just what you feel in your gut. I can already tell this video is going to be very long. So if you've made it this far, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed listening to this story. Irie, if you're watching, I hope you enjoyed listening to how you came into the world, baby girl. And yeah, we'll see you guys in another video sometime. I don't know. Thank you.